Poor Lando Norris. Max will haunt his sleep for another week, at least, if not a lifetime. And poor Oscar Piastri. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm growing convinced that McLaren would rather Lando lose the championship than Oscar win the championship. I know that sounds crazy. All right, are you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, the American take on Formula One with your hosts, Patrick and Brian. Race 23 is over, Qatar. A race, a sprint, qualifying, it all went down. And I can't say it was the best race, but my goodness, this race could be historic if what happens next week in Abu Dhabi is what I think could happen. Patrick, I need your analysis of the Qatar Grand Prix and that McLaren indecision to not pit.
Well, it may not have been the best race, but it was compelling viewing, mostly because of just how far we've come in, 8 or 9 races time, I think, at this point. Max was 100 points back of the leader.
Yeah, 104
at the time, Oscar, so he's made up all of that.
Right.
Now he's only a few points back, a handful of points back of the current leader, Lando. And by the way, George is only down like less than 100 points, I think, on the leader, which means he's made up a lot as well. It's just pretty remarkable where we're at this stage in the season when, first couple races back after the summer break, we assumed it was done. It was wrapped up. It was going to be one of the 2 McLarens, most likely Oscar. They had pretty much already won the constructor's title. And, well, here we are now. And we have no idea what's going to happen next week. And we have no idea if McLaren even wants to win a driver's title because it doesn't seem like they do. And it hasn't seemed like they've wanted to for a while.
Which makes no sense to me. I mean, Oscar's now in 3rd. McLaren have essentially double the points of the next constructor. Not quite, but close enough. And Oscar's in 3rd, but he's doing great. This is inexplicable. Like I said, I'm growing more convinced that inside McLaren, it's just so weird that they would literally rather see Lando lose than Oscar win. I can't explain it, but their actions strongly hint at this. But Oscar, he needs to do something. Like Sky Sports said something like to the effect, we love to see these friendly rivalries, teammates, and they're both on the same team and they're going to compete evenly and be, all nice. I was like, F that. What is life without hate? I mean, here I am in Michigan. There's a big football game yesterday, Michigan, Ohio State. I wished ill on the Ohio State team, on the coaches, on the players, on their fans. Soon after the game, we had a big snowstorm. I was thinking maybe something might happen to that bus on the way back down to Columbus. I mean, hatred is how hatred sustains us. Okay? Hatred sustains us. You don't do 24 races all around the world while being pals with your rival. I don't see this.
I don't understand how we went from Hamilton Rosberg, Hamilton Vettel, Hamilton Verstappen to now
Hamilton Alonso,
Oscar and Lando. Right. Oh, we're all chummy and we're having a good time, guys, and we're just gonna drive around a little bit and see what happens. And maybe today, actually, I think he's better, so I'm just going to let him go by. He's just, he was just a little bit better than me today, so I'm just going to let him go, That's fucking stupid.
It is.
That's stupid. That's not racing. It's not racing. It's shameful. It's embarrassing, and nobody wants to see it. And if people do want to see it, then I want them to leave. Because that is not Formula One. That's not what racing is about. The greatest quote of all time from Formula One is, if you see a gap, you go for it. Right? Otherwise, you're not a racer anymore.
Right.
And these 2 drivers are not that way. And for one of them to win the championship, I just think it speaks to a direction that the sport is moving in that I think is too fucking Disney. And we need to stamp that out, okay?
That's a good point. Yeah, we don't want this corporate button down. Oh, someone's got to win. Someone comes in second, but hey, it's all good. Let's shake hands. No, absolutely not. I think it was Oscar. He had the 1.8 second pit stop. I don't even know how that's physically possible. If you watch what they're doing, to do that in 1.8 seconds. Dude has the fastest car. Pit stops in 1.8 seconds. Still doesn't win. This is self-sabotage. This is team sabotage. I know I'm getting deep into conspiracy theories, but this is wrong.
It's certainly not right. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I am not even going to concern myself with trying to understand what the hell McLaren is doing anymore because they've clearly missed the point. They're the best. The best win everything.
Right.
Not one of the things. Everything. You win everything.
Right.
That was always Red Bull's mentality when they were at the top. That was always Mercedes' mentality when they were at the top. It's always been Hamilton's mentality when he's at the top. Or wherever, unless he's fucking complaining because he's on a shit Ferrari team. It's always been Max's mentality. And it doesn't seem like anybody in McLaren has the same thought. They just went, oh, we're the best. That's fun. It's not fun.
Right.
Winning is fun.
Right.
You win.
Winning is fun. And I mean, the conspiracy theories here, they're just writing themselves. Suddenly, Oscar, for a month and a half, it seemed like he forgot how to drive. And then last week in Las Vegas, McLaren, boom, wins it. No rules. Oh, no, you guys have been playing fast and loose, and the plank was a little thin, and you're both disqualified. Oh, once that gets exposed, suddenly Oscar's beating Lando at everything. What is that? And then during the race this week in Qatar, I'm like, oh my God, look at Kimi Antonelli. He's holding off Lando. Lando's going to come in fourth. Then suddenly Kimi's like, no, you go by. I swear to God, I was like, he let him by. Now both Toto and Kimi rushed to the camera right after. To say, no. I just, lost the rear bit. That's all. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And then the other situation, I might say, yeah, it happened. Young driver, it happened. Lando's there, hunting him down. But not today. Not today.
That was the weirdest thing because, I didn't get a great view of it, but it didn't look like anything came loose. So it looked like he just sort of drove wide, slowed down a little bit, and then kept on going. It's certainly possible that Sainz kind of put him in a compromising position by kind of backing up into him and giving him a little turbulent air, and he could have lost it a bit. It would make sense, but it looked suspicious as hell when it did happen.
Right. And I'll get to Sainz because what a hell of a race by him. But of the three that are still in contention, Lando, Oscar, Max, Oscar, who's, in my opinion, outdriven this year in the top car, he's now least likely to win. It's going to be very difficult for him to win the championship. So it comes down to Max and Lando. I mean, I'm still kind of just surprised, but if it were to be like this week, how it seemed like it should have. So Abu Dhabi, Max, Oscar, let's say Kimi instead of Carlos, then Lando. Max wins. That's theoretically possible. But then it got me thinking, well, wait, what if that's the case? Lando's got to hunt down because Lando can't come in fourth if Max has got P1. Now, it's unlikely because I think Lando won last year in Abu Dhabi and they've got the faster car. But it's still possible. But I mean, I swear to God, if it's like Max, Oscar, let's say Kimi Antonelli, Lando in Abu Dhabi, and Lando's hunting down Kimi, and then tells Oscar, hey, we need you to set a step aside so Max can get the championship. If I'm Oscar at this point, I'm just crashing into my teammate. I'm like, F this. I've had enough of this.
Yes, I kind of agree. If anybody tells Oscar to let Lando through or whatever, no, you're
It
taking out your
seems like
teammate.
that's
You're
what they're
taking out your
doing.
teammate. You're just going, nope.
I know, but
If it's not me, then I don't care at this point. We already won the team thing.
right, exactly.
So I'm not letting you have this by sheer goodwill.
Right.
You gotta earn it, bud.
I'm joking, of course, and I don't think Oscar's going to take out Lando, but like, I just have this feeling that that's what this is leading up to. That McLaren just like, look, I know we have best car, but we just are not going to tolerate Oscar winning the championship. He's not the corporate face of McLaren. That's Lando. Lando's our boy. He's our pretty boy. He's who everyone likes. He's our spokesman. He's our brand ambassador. He's been loyal. We are going to just make this so he wins it. And I'm just like, man, I do not like that. I do not like that.
It is interesting because it has been a while since we've seen teammates who are so, I guess, closely matched and where the team is not picking a clear favorite. You know, you go back to the Hamilton-Rosberg days, I think, where Hamilton was the number one, but not all of the time. And they were, generally pretty evenly matched, but it did not matter, really, who it was. They were going to win both the constructors and driver's title. It was going to happen. And Toto made sure of that. McLaren doesn't want to make that choice, and it's confusing. I don't know why that is.
And I mean, I think Mark Webber he's Oscar's manager, right? At least he's kind of a guiding presence. And I mean, this kind of takes me back to those Red Bull days where it was Seb and Mark Webber. And I think Mark Webber was under the delusion, like, hey, we're teammates. And it goes, if I'm in position, they give me the win. And if Vettel's in position, he gets the win. And I think he found out the hard way, and I think Oscar's about to find out the hard way. Like, oh no, it was never equal, ever. We always favored one guy over the other. We always did that. We led you to believe we didn't because you're dumb, and it worked in our favor. So, I mean...
Yeah, I guess Australians are gullible, right? So
maybe that's it. Maybe it's Australians are gullible. So Lando's at 408, Max at 396. Unreal. Oscar 392. So Oscar's 16 down. That's going to be, yeah, I think you're right. Australians are gullible.
I'm just saying, maybe this isn't true, but as of yet, nothing has been announced. Yuki has one more chance. Yuki's got one more chance to prove that he can successfully be a Red Bull teammate. And whether that's in qualifying or at some point in the race next weekend, he has got to just throw his car into Lando.
My goodness, can you imagine?
You just slam into that guy. Like, look, we'll give you a payout. I don't give a shit. You slam into him. Take him out.
Funny.
What do you got to lose, Yuki? What do you got to lose?
Nothing. He's got nothing to lose. Okay, other things that happened in Qatar. Carlos Sainz in Williams. Podium. Do you realize Carlos now has 2 podiums this year? He was replaced at Ferrari by Lewis Hamilton, who has, hold on, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 0. Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari has 0 podiums. Who do you think regrets all this more? Lewis, Ferrari, Carlos?
Well, I mean, Carlos had a pretty horrible first half of the season, but just not doing too bad recently, so that's good. He's still a ways back of Hamilton in terms of points, but I mean, when you're standing on the podium, I'm not sure that matters too much to you. Hamilton, I mean, he's making a shitload of money. I don't know. How can you regret that? But it is infuriating to go to Ferrari. This is your kind of last hurrah. This is going to be your last team. It's the iconic team in Formula One. You have been or were considered the greatest of all time. You have the most championships ever. And then you go here and lay a fucking egg. And Ferrari's garbage. I don't think Ferrari's regretting it because, I mean, Ferrari's just terrible. I am not really placing a whole lot of blame on Lewis for how terrible Ferrari's been.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I don't know that they are necessarily regretting it, aside from the fact that maybe Lewis is nudging Charles to speak up a little bit more, and they don't really like that a whole lot, I think.
Right.
But if anybody, I'm saying it's Lewis is the one most regretting it because, look, they're dog shit. And I don't know if they're going to be any better next year. So,
you got to wonder. I mean, in addition to F1, I'm a big college football fan, and there are teams that once were elite and that were elite for a long time and that have not been elite in a long, long time, but still believe they're elite. Like Nebraska, UCLA. These teams are garbage, and they've been garbage for a long, long time, and their fans still believe they're elite. This could happen to Ferrari. I mean, penultimate race, as they say. We've got one more race. Ferrari's irrelevant. I mean, they're irrelevant in the constructors. They're relevant in the drivers' championship. Nobody's paying attention. Lewis hasn't been on podium all year. I don't begrudge Lewis going up to Ferrari, taking all that money, being a brand ambassador. But I don't have any patience at all for his public complaining about the car. Charles, I do. Lewis, it's like, hey man, you were at Mercedes. You jumped ship. You want to take the big money. You want to be a brand ambassador. That's part of the reason they're paying you so much is to represent Ferrari. So talking bad, it's like, hey man, this is your bed. You got to lie in it. You need to keep quiet about that. But I don't know. I'm not sure anyone has regrets, but although maybe the team, I heard early in the week that, and I suspect this is just them trying to come up with an excuse for why they're so bad this year, is Ferrari team principal said to the effect, we saw early on how good McLaren was. We knew what our car had. We didn't think we could compete. So we decided to pour all our resources into the 2026 car, which I think is a corporate decision that might make sense. But as a decision of a race team, where you have how many in your pit crew, where you have how many engineers back, Marino, working on this car, like trying to win, flying around the world, working all day and night? I mean, how disheartening must that be,
I mean, throwing in the towel from the get-go it's a waste, and you might as well just not compete then. Just don't show up. Save the cash. Why are you going everywhere then if you're not going to try to compete? So I assume that was said more offhanded and jokingly than as a legitimate excuse for why their performance has been so poor, because it's not really an excuse, and that's terrible and embarrassing. So I don't know why you would say something so horrible and embarrassing about your team and brand.
Well, look at these team standings. So McLaren at 800, just shocking. Mercedes at 459, Red Bull at 426. So Max is still in the fight for the championship, even though McLaren had almost double the points of Red Bull. Ferrari at 382. I think it was me who predicted that Max Verstappen would finish ahead of Ferrari. Not ahead of Charles or Lewis, but all of Ferrari. And right now, I got that. Ferrari has 382. Max, 396. Oof. Crazy. I got some questions for you. So, Max is saying, he's still with Red Bull next year. And he's saying, essentially, well, I'm going to give it a go. We'll see how the rules are. We'll see if F1's fun in 2026. And if not, I'll do something else. I'm not concerned about 7 championships. I think that's 100% bullshit. What do you think?
I don't understand Max at all. He seems to only care about racing and whether or not that racing is enjoyable to him. And I think F1 will sort of always be fun to him. So he may say, oh, it's, the rules are boring or ridiculous or whatever, but I I buy that he would quit if he's not having fun, but I don't buy that he wouldn't have fun in Formula One. So,
yeah. Now, you mentioned Yuki earlier. Did okay this weekend, but not great. It's not looking good for Yuki. Now, Red Bull team principal Laurent Mackey said that they were going to publicly state the drivers lineup for Red Bull and for Racing Bulls for 2026. It seems almost certain that Isaac Hadjar, who had a terrible Qatar, that he will be put in Red Bull alongside Max next year. I believe Liam Lawson has earned a spot, a second year in Racing Bulls, which leaves a Racing Bull seat open, but I just don't think Yuki should be put there. He's had his run. It's been fine, but I just think it's over. What do you think?
I would agree. I don't see any reason for Yuki to come back into that team anyways. It doesn't seem like there's anything to be gained from Red Bull or Racing Bulls by keeping Yuki around. So I have to imagine that they'll look to somebody else to fill that sort of final seat.
Maybe I would like to see Yuki in Indy. And speaking of, Mick Schumacher was announced as a driver for Rahal Letterman in IndyCar next year. I think he'll be fine in Indy. I think that's a good place for him to go. He did say Cadillac considered him for the F1 seat for next year, kind of deep into the process. They ultimately went with Bottas and Sergio, I think more experienced drivers. That seems all correct. Even though I'm not a fan of Bottas or Perez, they're not going to, they're not going to wow us, but.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Mick will be fun in IndyCar. I think he'll get, good competitive open wheel racing experience in IndyCar and maybe eventually make a jump back into F1. He's obviously still very young. I don't think he really got a great shot at F1 in a Haas team that at the time was probably at the height of its most chaotic period in F1, which, isn't going to do you a whole lot of good as a driver. So, I think he deserves a seat in somewhere. I think IndyCar is good for now, and we'll see if he makes a jump back into F1. It would have been quite cool, I think, to see a Schumacher at Cadillac.
Yeah.
But as much as I sort of loathe the driver pairing that they went with, I understand their thought process behind the two veterans, Bottas and Perez.
Speaking of thought process, what was Lawrence Stroll's thought process? Aston Martin. He has announced that Adrian Newey will be the team principal. I'm not sure I get this. I get you're paying Adrian Newey a ton of money and giving him sort of complete control over the design of the car. So it's going to be tough to have anyone be the boss of Adrian Newey other than the owner. So any team principal and Adrian Newey, there's obviously going to be friction. Or I shouldn't say obvious, but it's very likely. So maybe he felt he had no choice. I don't know. But I don't know. Adrian Newey as team principal, to me, that's like Michael Jordan playing baseball. It's just like, look, he's fine, but the man should be doing what he's great at.
Yeah, I don't get it. It was kind of a confusing announcement when it was made earlier this week. And I don't know. He's got literally zero experience as a team principal.
Right.
He's got a lot of experience as a technical director. And that's probably what he should be doing. So I have no idea how it's going to go. But it probably won't get any worse than this year, is my assumption. So, maybe it'll be okay.
Switching to the soft compound. Here we are, one more race to go. Deep into a championship battle, still not decided. 3 potential drivers to win it. It got me thinking. A few weeks ago, I watched the NASCAR championship. I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I don't watch it often, but I watched this. And one of the Kyles won. I don't know which Kyle. Kyle Larson, maybe? And Denny Hamlin lost out. Denny Hamlin, for those of you who don't know NASCAR, is maybe the best NASCAR driver of the past 20 years. Certainly, let's say in the top 5. And going into that final race, it looked like he would win the championship, but he lost it. But he lost it because NASCAR has, in addition to the just weird bumping into each other and cars flying everywhere, he lost it because they have this weird sort of championship format. I don't understand it. I've been told they're getting rid of it. But essentially, it's like, oh, forget everything that happened. I know it's been a long season. We hope you enjoyed it. Forget everything that happened. This last couple of races, it's going to be flat out. We'll total up the winners. That's going to be your champion. I know that makes absolutely no sense. But I don't think sense in NASCAR. That's not the point of NASCAR. But imagine something like that. Couldn't you see that at F1? Like, how about like 1 year we just sort of say, hey, we know this is crazy, but for 2030, here's how we're going to make it. Everybody going to race all flat out for 20 races. And then the last 4 races of the year, we're going to pick whoever's in the top 10. Let's say after race 20, those 10, we all start anew. Boom, 4 races. I like this idea.
I think that would be hilarious and nobody would like it. But it would be funny. I mean, I already think nobody likes the NASCAR thing. I think everybody hates that also. So I don't know. I think it would be funny to do something like that. It would also be weird to only have 10 cars on track.
Well, make it even weirder. I don't think NASCAR has only a few cars on track. It seems like they still have.
I think they still have 40 like 40.
Yeah,
I think they still have 40, but none of them matter. None of them matter. You know?
All they can do is crash into others. You know,
they're just the bumper cars that impede everybody else. They're obstacles.
I don't even think we're making fun of NASCAR. I think this is actually how it works.
I'm pretty sure it is. NASCAR is weird. NASCAR is so American that only like 30% of Americans are, like understand NASCAR and love NASCAR in the way that it's supposed to be.
Right. It's so American. It's sort of like, I could just see one day in the future, NASCAR's like, okay, we're going to have 50 cars. We're going to start in Indianapolis. We're going to get on the interstate and just balls to the wall to Chicago. Whoever makes Chicago first. Like this, whatever it takes.
They're going to go, like Cincinnati to Atlanta on
I-75.
I-75, you just, whoever gets there first.
Those are the rules.
It'll be like that scene in Too Fast, Too Furious where they're competing to see who gets the job. Anyways.
Right. Dirty air. I read this article in Wall Street Journal. It says the NFL, biggest sports league in the world, they're seriously trying to grow their international business. I never thought anyone outside of the U.S. would like NFL. Maybe a bit in Canada, maybe a few in Mexico. That's it. But they actually are making money. Ireland, England, Germany. So they're looking into how they expand it. But obviously, flying teams from, let's say, Detroit and Green Bay to Paris and Berlin, that's not going to be easy. So they're looking at contracting with a company called Boom to build supersonic jets. I like this idea. And I want to see F1 drivers in supersonic jets.
I think that is not unrealistic, but I don't know if there's a current need for supersonic jets in F1.
Right. But I mean, they're going off. Was it Las Vegas last week? Las Vegas to Qatar? I don't know. A fleet of supersonic jets. Let's see. One for each team. Boom. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
I would need F1. I think F1 should do this. All right. Now, it do be like that, Patrick. It do be like that on my birthday, I got a pair of iPhone AirPods. It came with 3 months free of Apple TV, which I've yet to watch because I'm sure there's absolutely nothing on Apple TV that would interest me. But I realize next year I'm going to have to buy Apple TV to watch F1. I don't know. Any thoughts on Apple TV and F1? Any additional thoughts on this, Patrick?
I think that Apple paid a lot of money for F1, and that's nice. So they better spend a lot of money to make decent broadcasts. And my expectation is that they'll try to get, good broadcasters, good hosts. I don't know who they'll get to do all of the races, but I would expect them to bring in, former well-liked drivers, people like Vettel or Ricardo, or, to do a couple of races here and there, that kind of thing. I think that would interest people. I think it would, help kind of retain some audiences. So I don't want to say high hopes, but I expect the investment to continue. And if that's the case, then I think they'll do okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope. Speaking of TV, I was watching the Beatles anthology, so Beatles Moment, and there was an interview, I think it was from the 90s, but I'm not sure. And it was George, Ringo, and Paul. They're sitting around together at a table. I think it was at George's house, and there was a big Senna poster, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool. I would like a big Senna poster in my giant house, too.
Across the Line, that is our segment where we predict the top 5 for the next race. The next race is next week, and it is the final race of this long season. It will be in Abu Dhabi. Now, in Across the Line, we predict the top 5 finishers. If we are correct, we get 1 point for each driver who finishes in the top 5. If we predict them in the exact right spot, we get 3 points, and we tally it all up. Patrick, after Qatar, after 23 races, what are the standings of Across the Line?
Well, this weekend was pretty close. So coming in to Qatar, I was leading 74 points to your 66. Top 5 from this race was Verstappen, Piastri, Sainz, Norris, and then Antonelli for some inexplicable reason. Your picks were Verstappen, Russell, Hamilton, Tsunoda, and Sainz. So you got 3 for Verstappen in P1 and then 1 for Sainz. So that brings your total to 70 points. My picks were Norris, Antonelli, Leclerc, Piastri, and Behrman. So I got 1 point each for Norris, Antonelli, and Piastri, all in the top 5, not in the positions that I selected them. So that brings my total to 77 points. So 77 to 70 going into the final race of the season.
I'm kind of like hell. Oscar behind Max and Lando. That's going to be tough to make up. And last year, Lando won. Then there was the 2 Ferraris, which I'm not expecting that to happen this year. There were some minor incidents, I believe. Sergio had a DNF. Max finished, let me see, P6. So, right now it all favors, the stars are aligning for Lando Norris. We'll see. Here's what we said last year. What a season. Came down to the last couple of races to determine the driver's title. Not like this year. Then came down to the last few laps of this season to determine the constructor's title. McLaren versus Ferrari. Definitely not like this year. McLaren has owned that, since about halfway through. Okay. Oh, and a quick reminder that this race, Qatar, it happened in Abu Dhabi, but it was, I think, on the day of this race 5 years ago when Romain Grosjean had his terrible accident.
Dang,
that was
5 years ago.
I know, it's been 5 years. Wow. And almost the same day, 50 years ago, Graham Hill, a great racer, the only one to ever do the Triple Crown, but it was plane crash. It was kind of his fault. He should not have been flying that plane, unfortunately. But another great racer, one of the all-time greats. Okay, So across the line for Abu Dhabi, who goes first?
I have first pick.
Oof.
So I'm gonna do same as what I did last week, and I'm gonna take Lando. P1 shuts the door.
Well, then I've got to go with Max and Oscar.
Oof. And then I'll take George. He had a pretty poor race today, but he'll probably bounce back.
I need somebody to look, because whenever he talks to Martin Brundle on the grid walk, it seems like he has a bad race. I'd like somebody to go back and check that.
It might be true. Maybe Martin Brundle is his kryptonite.
Right, throws him off a bit.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I don't know what happened on his last lap, but it's been hard to count out Kimi the last few races, so I'll go with him, P3.
It has. Now, it's been a terrible year for Ferrari, but I'm going to go with Charles for P3. And then it was a terrible Qatar for Nico Hulkenberg, but I'm going to say my dude gets on the podium yet again.
Damn, Hulk. Let's see. Then I'm gonna take Alonso.
Nice.
And then fellow Spaniard Carlos Sainz.
Oh, nice. Then I will round it out with, I was going to say Lewis Hamilton, but no. I'm going to go with Ollie Behrman.
Oof.
So you have Lando, George, Kimi, Alonso, and Carlos for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the final race of the season. I have Max, Oscar, Charles, Nico Hulkenberg, and Ollie Behrman.
Nice.
Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
Any crazy predictions? None really. I think, previously we had said, Kimi is going to finish ahead of Lewis. That doesn't seem crazy anymore. That seems inevitable. I don't know. I mean, Max has 93% of his team's points currently. I expect that to stay the same. Dang, I don't know. I don't have anything interesting, I think.
Mine will be minor. Bad strategy calls cost McLaren today. Good strategy calls got Max the win. Here we have the Black Friday sales here in the U.S. after Thanksgiving. Kindle offered Bernie Collins' book for $1.99. How to Win a Grand Prix. My crazy prediction is I will read it and never ever win a Grand Prix.
Huh. You don't say.
I don't say. All right. I want to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved father and son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. We hope you share and subscribe. And we are now lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.